Hey y'all, I'm Rose and I'm here to talk to you about the artist's way, my journey as an artist, my journey as a professional artist, and my journey as a transitioning media artist. I promise it will not be a long video. So, just a little bit about me. I am a graphic designer in my 9 to 5 job, and in my personal art, I am a director. I come from a background of visual arts. I have a degree in fine arts and graphic design. Okay, I'm going to start with my creative journey. I entered the art world through visual arts. I grew up in a small town. There wasn't a whole lot to do. And honestly, I didn't have access to a whole lot either. Art was like the thing that I had, like visual art was the thing that visual arts were the thing that I had access to. That was hard. Thank you for going with me on that journey.
So,
So I just really pursued that. Like I did a lot of acrylic, graphite. Once I saved up enough money for an iPad, or I also had a Nook where I did digital art on. Wild. That's a throwback. Another story for another day. And that really led me up to like early high school, late middle school. And I kind of decided I wanted to go into animation. And meanwhile, throughout all of this, even in college, like I got acting jobs or I was in like the school play. That was something I loved to do. And I really like wanted to act in the back of my head, but I just didn't have the ability to do that. I genuinely had the thought process of I can't act, so I am going to act through animation. And number one, I even remember like in high school, like having a conversation with a friend and being like, yes, I am not a good stage actor, but I definitely feel like I would be better on camera. Honestly, wild thought. And I just moved on. I never interacted with that again. I was like, cool, that's great. That's great. And I want to act, but I'm just not going to interact with that thought. So I was really into animation and I wanted to go to go get a degree in animation at college. And also I had it in my head that I was going to get a degree in animation at college out in LA. Mind you, I live in Missouri. So there are two things wrong with that. One, I knew I could not afford, and my parents could not afford, to send me to LA to go to college. Or Ford Art School, actually, for that matter. I ended up going to a liberal arts college here in Kansas City, which honestly probably worked out for the better because your bachelor's degree doesn't really matter. It's just a certificate at the end of the day. And I had a lot less debt in the college I went to in Kansas City rather than going out to LA and racking up a bunch of debt, like living costs and going to college there. So I didn't go out to LA. And then the second reason, honestly, that was an issue is during like my high school, during high school, the Me Too movement happened. And I was like, I am a small town girl living in a small town world. And I am way too naive to make this shit happen. Like, people are going to be pulling fast ones on me left or right. So I was like, girl is not ready for that. So, summary, I went to college. And honestly, it worked out well because I graduated during COVID. And I definitely would have killed LA for me. I think I would have dropped the whole, like, I'm going to direct thing had I pursued that at that time. So I think this timing's perfect. This is my moment. And Timothy Chalamet, the word. I'm going to be one of the greats. Dead. Okay, sorry. So I went to college in Kansas City and pursued a degree in fine arts and graphic design at a small liberal college. Does not need to be named. Afterwards, I got a job as a full-time graphic designer. It was remote because we were still in like COVID era. Actually, I didn't even like fully graduate by the time I had that job. Like I kind of said that like I was done with a graphic design program, but I had some silly little credits that I needed to wrap up for like one more semester, which I should have done during the summer, but silly, not the point. I ended up getting this full-time graphic design job remotely, and terrible. I don't need to get into the specifics, but it basically gave me the worst like artistic burnout of my life. And I was a competitive club athlete and hated sports. Terrible. So I don't know. It was coming. It was coming for me. The burnout was coming. And honestly, it was good because I ended up getting fired from that job. It was really a layoff, but it feels like getting fired. And what is the difference between a layoff and a fire? Anyway, I mean, there's a difference. So anyway, it worked out because that's how I figured out I wanted to direct. Like I got really, really honest with myself about like, I want to direct. And I don't know, it was a little bit out of the blue, but with the animation during college, I ended up kind of deciding like, well, animation isn't my route, but I would love to do production design. Then I was kind of like, well, terrible. I just want to have my hand in everything and I want to make all the creative decisions. So I was like, well, the next step, of course, is directing. And so basically, there was a long, drawn out 22-year process of like, hey, just be honest with yourself. You want to act and direct. And now I'm pursuing it. So we shall see how it goes. Terrible. So honestly, since that firing, I've been recovering from burnout. I had a few different like odd jobs here and there alongside doing some like freelance graphic design. And I'm back in a full-time graphic design job now. I would like to be remote because I would like to pursue other things alongside of that. But I'm going to be remote. Actually, I'm going to be remote and start pursuing things alongside of that. And I'm very excited. And I'm excited about my journey with Artist Way and sharing that with you all. Pump. So today we are going to talk about the intro. Chapter 1 will be next week. The first thing I want to talk about is my goal with the Artist Way. I think something that I want to work on throughout this, I have definitely like been recovering from burnout, but there's still some like residual things about like perfectionism and balancing breaks versus like going, and like keeping my creativity like authentic and feeling like full of creativity instead of like constantly feeling like I'm pulling from like a drought, which I think it definitely comes from like a metaphor comes from this book, which we'll talk about later. And then I guess my goal with sharing this with you all is to give like a live interaction with this and to kind of share my thoughts on like and my interaction with it, because I think there were definitely things where it's like, that seems very capitalistic or super Christian, and I don't think that belongs in creativity, but there are definitely a lot of good things that come from this book, for sure. So I think it will be interesting to kind of have that discussion with everybody of like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And how do you feel about like the work-life balance, or even just within your like personal like work and your personal life? Or, you know, intro. So I felt like the intro is kind of setting out like this intention that this is going to be like a philosophical religious journey. And even within like the spiritual electricity section, she talks about like God and the great creator and spirit, like all being one thing. So I think it is flexible in the sense of like she presents it as like this is my interaction and it comes from a place of Christianity, while also being like this is just more of about creativity and a spiritual journey. Like I feel like you can separate that out easily if you wanted to, but it's there. And that's something you like, if you're not into that, it's something you just kind of have to like correct in your head. But this book just like presents to you in the first like couple sections, basically like your creativity can be a process and can be accessed at any point. You just have to have like a good relationship with it, and part of that is like building the spiritual connection with your creativity, and being honest with your creativity, and being honest with yourself, and recognizing that your creativity, you aren't your creativity. So I really love that aspect of it. I think there are definitely some aspects that are like very like you have to create these types of rituals, and if you don't like it's kind of almost rigid in the way she like lays it out, and especially intimidating like as somebody who struggles with routine. I think the idea of like your life should be structured this way is very intimidating. So I think I'm going to, throughout this journey, try to be kind with myself about, not placing expectations on myself that are unrealistic. Realistically, I have a full-time job. I have a lot of people in my life that I need to maintain a relationship with. I have other things in my life that I have to manage. And at the end of the day, I'm a like human being in a society. So I think it definitely depends too, like, for example, like the morning journals. I'm not going to do them in the morning. I think I don't want to put that type of creativity towards my job. And so, which, not knocking my job, but it just doesn't need it. And I don't want to put it towards that. So I'm going to do my morning pages just like before I want to be creative. It's more as like a warm up process to like being creative, which again, coming from a former like athlete, like I definitely like the idea of like a slow start into like being creative. And especially too, she presents the morning pages as like kind of journaling and mind dumping of like, just get whatever you need in your brain out on page so you can make space for the creativity. A few important things, and I've kind of already talked about morning pages, but morning pages are probably a key. To me, morning pages are a key aspect of the intro. It's like a journaling technique. I think for me, I'm going to, Julia Cameron, Julia Cameron asks that you do 3 pages, and it doesn't matter what you write, which I do love that. It doesn't matter what you write. They can be as nasty or petty or negative or positive or floaty as you want them to be. Whatever you want your journaling pages to be, they can be. It's more about just, again, like calming your brain, calming the anxiety, getting all those like thoughts out on page. And honestly, it's kind of good. She even specifies like, it's kind of good if your pages are like nasty because you're getting that energy out and it's gone, like energy out that you don't want. That makes space for like the good energy in. And I really love that about them. So I think for me, again, I want to like kind of keep this loose structure of like 3 pages might be a lot on days that like I don't have 3 pages and I don't want to sit around and like ruminate about stuff or, um, you know. So I think for me, like I'm either going to do 3 pages or set like a timer of like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And after the 30 minutes are done, if I don't have 3 pages or I need more time to like finish up my 3 pages, then I can either like I can make a choice from there of like, okay, I've gotten out what I need to. 30 minutes are good. I'm going to finish up this letter. That I write my own letters to me, but you don't have to do that. That's just like, yeah. So number 1, morning pages. Number 2, she talks a lot about a like sensor logic brain versus like an artistic brain. And it's very like 2010s right brain, left brain thinking. But I do think there's like validity and like the philosophy of it. I don't think that like she tries to be like, there's scientific evidence for this. But there's nothing cited or, you know, like it's just a philosophy. But I think there's like validity in the sense of like, you have this like, and she talks about it too as like, sometimes it's a specific person in your life. It's somebody who did not like support you in your creative endeavors or support you, period. Or maybe they just said some like nasty things that like hurt your creativity. So your sensor is kind of that person or that like negative thought in your head about like, you can't do this, that kind of thing. And then your artistic brain is very related to your inner child and very like curious and like wants to try things. The final thing we're going to talk about is the artist day. The journals are a way to like get out energy and make room for your creativity and your interest and filling your well is something she talks about. Especially if you're having like creative blocks, it's good to like get that energy out, like journaling and that type of stuff is a good way to like be objective. So the artist dates are a way to like pull creative energy in, and it's filling that well and giving you a good solid foundation of these are the things I like, these are the things I want to incorporate in my art or inspire me to create art, no matter what the medium. And this is another thing where she's pretty rigid and you need to have like 2 hours a week of like consuming art solely by yourself, like nobody else is allowed. And I think that's important. I think you need to have the alone time to like self-reflect or even just like think outside of like thinking with other people and just like being yourself and following your own interest. So I think that aspect is a really important, but I think like expecting like to block out like 2 whole hours a week, like totally by yourself, if you are a very busy person, can be difficult. So I think that's another thing where like, if you can only get 1 hour in, or if you do it bi-weekly instead of every week, then that like do what you can, get done what you can. So this week I did, what did I do this week? I did sometime I'm trying to learn how to pole dance, and so I did some time doing that, and that was something that like I consume a lot of other people dancing and other music that I wouldn't normally listen to because of that. And so that was like a good time to like explore that and learn about that, and then just like kind of refresh. And like it wasn't for a purpose. Like I think that's something kind of important too, is like don't set yourself up to like, it doesn't have to be like high art type of things, just anything you're interested in, because you never know what that could lead to. Like maybe I will write a character about that likes to pole dance or an- anything. I don't know, but you get what I mean. So, yes, the artist date I think can be very abstract. I think it's just important to be very intentional about it, while also like just feeding that inner child. Like, do what interests you, do what you find fun. Like, don't force yourself to do things. This should be like a fun activity, not like something that you like should do or have to do. It's not like an obligation. Wrapping up here. Um, I'm very excited to do the next week. Something that she talks about in the journey, like the artistic way journey, is like you're going to have a lot of high emotions. And I think, especially as an actor, like I want to be more comfortable with like my emotions going all over the place and like just allowing them to do that. So I think I'm going to be very intentional about like not shying away from that type of stuff in this journey. And I'm very excited to do that. I'd love to hear your guys' interaction. Have you read the book before? Um, how has it helped you? What are your thoughts on the intro section? What I've said about the intro section? I'd love to hear all your thoughts. Thank you for watching. I'm excited for next week, and I'll see y'all. Love you.